Welcome to the Eye on Annapolis Local Business Spotlight. There are thousands of locally owned businesses in the area, some small and some large. Some you may know and others you don't. But one thing they all have in common is a great story, and we want to share it with you. Join us every Saturday as we talk to the founders, the owners, and the managers of local businesses you have come to know and love, and those you will come to know and love. Now here's your host, John Frenay, with this week's Local Business Spotlight.
Well, in case anybody couldn't tell, we are here at Ceremony Roasters up in Parole, I guess, out on the West Street off of Smithville Road. What you may hear in the background is coffee being roasted. So, but we're not here to talk about coffee here. We're talking with Thomas Thompson, and you are the founder and CEO of a new tech company based here called Eduaide, and that's EDUAIDE.ai, and recently named a 30 under 30 by Forbes magazine.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
That's wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. You know, as I started looking into this, I love a story where you find somebody can build a better mousetrap. Better mousetraps are built all over the place, but when somebody has been the mouse, it makes it a little bit easier. And you have done just that with Eduaide. I mean, you are a former reformed, rehabilitated, whatever teacher. You've been in the trenches and you know what's needed to make a teacher's life easier. And this is in a real basic sense, it's an aid to help teachers develop engaging lesson plans and to get students engaged and everybody else. Am I on the right track there?
Yeah. So, I mean, every profession has its fundamental tools that you use in the course of the profession. And for a teacher, it's curriculum, it's a word processor, it's a slideshow creator. What Eduaide does is we essentially make a purpose-built workspace for teachers to design all the assets that they would use for instruction. Lesson plans, worksheets, readings, tests, group activities, just any assistance they may require in the course of planning for teaching and learning.
So, I mean, on the teaching process, the curriculum, that comes from the big fancy office on River Road and is sent out to all the schools. And this is what Dr. Bedell here in Anne Arundel County says, this is what you're going to be teaching.
Yeah.
When it gets to you as a teacher, that's up to you how to implement that.
So this is one of the biggest misconceptions people have about education is you pass these policies or curricula and you expect them to be implemented, but they're all filtered through local control, local classrooms, teachers with a very specific context and students that they have to meet. And this presents challenges because the curricula is not always fit for that student group that you're working with. So there's some level of stretching you have to do to make it work for your students, or what they call differentiation. Eduaide assists with that, all the supplemental instruction, all the differentiation.
Students learn differently. And I mean, we've got, we're actually got a new charter school that's opening up at the mall just because of, students that have somewhat checked out of the traditional curriculum that was given to them, and it just doesn't fit neatly into that box. And you as a teacher, and I mean, I'll say a former teacher, as the teachers need to do that, they need to really massage that to get the most success out of their students. Because I mean, let's face it, everybody's got the potential to be whatever they want. I mean, it sounds a little bit trite, but honestly, with some work and hard effort and people that are on your team, you really do. So Eduaide is an online, or is it app-based, or is it
It's
both?
a web application. Yep.
Okay. For teachers to be able to take that curriculum and say, okay, well, I've got a bunch of visual learners and I'm going to do more, we'll look on the elementary level, I'm going to do more fixture puzzles or something along those lines, and to generate.
Yeah. Like, let's say you are an 8th grade history teacher and you have students coming into your classroom at a 5th grade reading level. Now they have to read the Federalist Papers in class. What are you going to do to scaffold those students to be able to access that text, get the information from that text, and be able to use it in a meaningful way? You might need to pre-teach the vocabulary. You might need to provide a shorter version of the text, right? So you truncate it or chunk the text, and you could do all of this on Eduaide. So you make it accessible for different types of students. So it could be a student at a lower reading level. It could be a student who needs supplemental material after the lesson because they get through it so quick. And we often teach towards the middle, and we lose the students on the lower end of the spectrum and on the upper end of the spectrum in class. Eduaide enables teachers to create different forms of instruction to reach those different groups. Because before you had an hour to do it in the planning period, but you spend 30 minutes creating the base material. And then, your teacher down the hall calls you and you have to step into a meeting or you take a call or you have to respond to your emails. And you're just not, maybe you're not hitting those accelerated students that day because you didn't have enough time or something like this.
Well, it sounds like time is really a critical issue for teachers. And I mean, I
100%.
know, you got the whole trope about, this would be great, work 9 months a year, have summers off and do nothing, which is great. But you've also got to realize that they're not just that 9 to 3 job.
Not at all.
I know several teachers that are doing, 3, 4, maybe 5 hours at night preparing their lessons to figure out for the next day, because on their planning period, maybe there was a teacher or a parent that came in that had all sorts of issues that needed to talk to him, wanted to talk to them. Maybe there was a student that was having a crisis. Maybe they called down to the principal's office. I don't know.
Or you're a special education teacher and you have these IEP meetings where you talk about the individualized education plans for students. A special education teacher needs probably more time to plan than a general educator, and they seemingly have less time because it's taken up with so many meetings and the like. So you have to essentially adapt the workload. We can't extend the amount of time a teacher has to plan, but you can shrink the amount of time it takes a teacher to do any one given thing in their planning.
I'm curious, out of with special education, I mean, is the curriculum, I mean, obviously it's different based on different development stages, but I mean, is it generally the same type of curriculum that we see for non-special ed students?
So I taught in Anne Arundel County public schools for 3 years. And for those 3 years, I was a co-teacher, which means I worked with a special educator and half of my students had an individualized education plan. We had the same curriculum, the same assessments, and the same pacing guide as general ed students. So it was the job of my co-teacher and I to adapt the material to ensure that the students were ready for that assessment that all of the history students were taking that day.
And that would be the unfair assessment that everybody's graded on.
Yep, they call it a common formative assessment. So
right.
Common between all sections of that course.
So your job is to basically get all the special ed kids that are in some sort of a roller coaster car and scooch them up a little bit further closer to the center to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Wow. Okay, I didn't
Which
realize.
is difficult.
No, it has to be. And it also has to be very difficult to rein in those students that are running, that are like, it's like, I remember a freshman college and when I transferred to Temple, I had to take a basic math class. I mean, I had algebra, trigonometry. I mean, we had the whole 9 yards, and then they're like calculus. And we started with like sets and subsets. And I was like, dude, I need to get out of here.
Yeah.
And we were able to find out when the tests were, and I showed up for them. But it was
classroom management, first hurdle that any teacher needs to master. Like if you don't have that first foundational block set. Yeah. So like there's a lot of procedural aspects with teaching, having a lesson plan, having a learning objective, and then having materials aligned to that learning objective. Eduaide assists with all of these things. So now a teacher can think more strategically, right? So I have a student who has a certain behavioral trigger in a lesson, and I know I might need to pull that student out and work with them in a small group or something. You can prepare for those kind of eventualities.
So I want to get back to Eduaide and the AI on your website, eduaide.ai. Obviously, artificial intelligence, is that what the new domain extension would be? I mean, how much does AI play into the program?
The program is built from the ground up with AI integrated into it. So this could raise a few eyebrows for teachers who want some form of verification, and we can get into that a little bit later. But the idea is a teacher selects from a collection of different prompts that would go to an AI, right? This prompt might create a script for direct instruction, or a certain prompt might create a worksheet for short answers or a group work activity. So the teacher would select one of those prompts, and then they specify their learning objective, their topic details. So what content am I actually teaching? They specify what standards they're working towards. They can upload files of relevant curriculum documents. They can share websites and YouTube videos, and then our AI will create a material based on the context the teacher provided it.
So it spits out printable?
Yes,
or
totally printable.
Projectable, or whatever it may be.
All of it.
The content. So as going back to my high school days, as my teacher is flipping through the cellophanes on the overhead projector, I mean, this is what's coming out of Eduaide.
Yeah, you could actually create games, for example. Like we have teachers creating Jeopardy-style review games on Eduaide, They come out on the board with the questions and they'll project those up on their smartboard in class and play it with the
God, I
students.
might have even liked school when I was in there. If this
Yeah.
stuff, this stuff was around. And again, it just seems like it's got to be such a time saver because I mean, teachers are
Mhm.
tend to be overworked,
Mhm.
underpaid, similar to a startup, I guess, huh?
Yeah. Yes.
Underappreciated as well. At least in my opinion. I mean, a lot of people certainly appreciate what they are. Now, I mean, what is the cost on this? I mean, and how is this implemented? Is this like a district wide implementation? Is this a teacher that says, "Oh, you know what? I've got an idea on how to make my life a little bit better," or how is it implemented? I mean,
Yep.
how do we get a hold of it?
Both of those. So a teacher could go to Eduaide, log into the site with their email address, totally free, and there's a free account. And then you hit a certain usage limit. It's based on tokens. I would say it levels out to you might create 6 or 7 pieces of instructional content. That could be a worksheet, a slideshow, a
Right.
game, or whatever. And then there's a paid tier, which is $5 a month or $49.99 a year. And then for districts, we also sign on entire districts as well. So it's two models. So we work direct to teacher and we work with districts as well.
And like any new startup or something like that, you tease them with the freebie, give
Exactly.
them the perks on the on the paid one, and you said $5 a month, $5.99, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I would say that this would be an outstanding holiday gift for a teacher instead of a stupid mug that says "I love educate," with an
Yeah.
apple on it or something like
Exactly. Give them a month of Eduaide,
that.
save them
Or
a bunch of
or
time.
give them a year at
Yeah.
$50 or $60
Yeah.
or something like that. That's crazy. How many people are using this now?
About 70,000 teachers a month. We've had over 900,000 signups. We work with 125 school districts and teachers all over the world use it. So we work with teachers in the Philippines and the Emirates. We work with teachers in Taiwan and I already said the Philippines. That's
Yeah.
one of our largest usage areas. India as well, Canada, Australia.
Is it all English based?
We have 26 different languages supported on Eduaide. So the user interface itself is in English, but you can change the AI outputs language.
Wow.
Mhm.
How did it come about? I mean, I know that you were a teacher here in Anne Arundel County School, and then you also had some time at Caroline, I believe you
Yep.
said. But how did this come about? I mean, were you just a frustrated, pissed off teacher?
A little bit of that. I was very angsty, very kind of against the system while I was teaching, right? But a part of it was my graduate work. So I got my master's degree at Johns Hopkins University for educational technology. And my thesis was on open educational resources. So these are openly licensed, free to use educational resources. I was building a website to for teachers to share those, like a repository. That didn't really come to fruition. And right around the time I was banging my head against the wall trying to get that off the ground, a fellow teacher across the hall from me, Thomas Hummel, he said, "Hey, I've been playing around with ChatGPT. I think we could do something with AI that would be useful for teachers." He had a friend who is working as a engineer for a healthcare firm in Colorado. We convinced him to leave his job and come along with us. And then the three of us started up Eduaide together.
Wow. Okay. So your Colorado guy is what, the tech?
Yeah, our CTO.
He's doing the coding and whatever
Yes.
needs to go
Yeah.
there and bringing
I'm
it.
able to speak his language and then the language of my other co-founder who's a teacher. So I'm the go-between. We have an education specialist, we have a tech specialist, and then I'm the jack of all trades.
Who is it for? I mean, is this for elementary, middle, high? Does it get up into the university level, or is it scalable?
Really K through higher ed, K to gray. From early childhood learning, we have specific resources for them, like phonetic awareness, decodable readings, stuff you would do at early elementary level. And then we have things that college professors can use, because professor might have content expertise, but they don't have pedagogical expertise, being able to teach effectively. They don't have a course for professors on how to teach, right?
Right.
So you might be able to take your course reading for that week and create a Socratic seminar to have a rigorous discussion about it. Or you could structure a direct instruction script, augment your lecture notes to include checks for understanding and questions for the students. So we actually work with the entire Pennsylvania state college system. So Penn West, Slippery Rock University, we work in their schools of education. All of those teachers, we gave them free access to Eduaide. For all first-year teachers and pre-service teachers, you can get free access to the tool. And we also work with Louisiana State University as well with their supplemental instruction division. So we work at college level, but our primary market is K to 12.
Is a K to 12 also? Let me play devil's advocate for a little bit there. Okay, I'm a teacher and I need to do a lesson plan and have graphics and stuff like that and a game. What is the difference between Eduaide and me just getting a really good prompt, throwing it into ChatGPT or one of the other AI learning models? I guess they're not learning models is not the right term for it, but to throw it in and say, hey, I would like to have a, questions to lead a discussion group about this book, maybe come up with a fun Jeopardy style game.
So a couple of things I would say to that. One is that if you become quite adept at using an AI model yourself, it's probably the more cost-effective way. Now, there's some things that you can get on Eduaide that you can't get from ChatGPT. Eduaide has a knowledge graph, which is about 120 different educational research papers. These papers, we try to find high quality studies, controlled studies. The state of educational research is a mess. But anyway, we take these studies and we create a rubric based on it. And then we tag it. So I'll take one study, for example. It's by an author named John Dunlosky. It's about effective study techniques. And he talks about something called retrieval practice. So what we do is we create a rubric and we say, does the lesson plan adhere to X, Y, and Z as found in the paper? And then we curate a data set where we judge our AI responses against that knowledge graph. And that enables us to fine tune the AI to be more, say, education focused, right? So our AI specifically is attuned to the needs of a teacher where a general purpose model might not be. And then additionally, you use ChatGPT, it's going to come out in a chat transcript. You have to copy that, paste it into a text editor. Everything that generates on Eduaide goes into a text editor. So it's like a Google Docs-like experience. And then you can edit it. Then we have on the toolbar itself, you could insert multiple choice questions and the drag and drop interface.
Okay, so I can turn around and just in one place, sit there and say, oh, I don't like this question. We'll zap this out. And as opposed to having to go through and say, oh, I don't like, paste it in and stuff. Wow,
so you do your prompts on Eduaide. We generate something in a document. And then you can chat with an AI on the side. The AI is reading your document. You could say, change that short answer question into a multiple choice question, and it will change it into a multiple choice question. Or you might say, this text is too long. I need to shorten it. I need to have a glossary, and it'll create the glossary. And then sometimes we have just one-click things where you might, maybe it didn't create an answer key. You can click answer key, generate, it'll generate an answer key to the bottom of the page.
Again, a huge time saver. And I think that as useful as AI can be, and everyone always says, you've got to double check it.
Yeah.
Don't copy paste and say, hey, Kate, this is
100%.
I did a fun one the other day. Said, based on what create. If I was running the world, create what the world would look like.
Yeah.
Based on everything you knew about me, and don't ask any questions. Just do it. And I came back to this picture, and I'm like, really?
Yeah.
So it's like, you don't know where it's going. And the fact that you're really working, like you talked about with the research papers and the papers, that you're fine-tuned their core and education response as opposed to a newspaper that's writing an education article.
But we have specific tools for teachers to get the transparency into the AI's generation. So we partnered with a nonprofit organization, the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, CZI, and they gave us this tool called an evaluator. What the evaluator does, a teacher can take a text created on Eduaide, run the evaluation, and they will see, we do a quantitative text analysis. So we're counting words, we're counting syllables, we're counting sentence length. We do a qualitative text analysis. So we look at the structure of the sentence. We look at the structure of the paragraph. We look at the formatting. And then in the prose, the complexity of the words used. And then we look at background knowledge. What would a student need to do to be able to access this? And then we assign a grade band to it. A grade band where the text can be read independently, and a grade band where it can be read but with support from the teacher. And then we list what the supports are. So a teacher can actually evaluate the quality of the AI-generated material right on the website before even using it.
Wow. And when you say the AI-generated content coming off of the website, and that is the content that is with the student in mind or the teacher in mind, or both?
We create all the tools in the language of the teacher, but ultimately the audience will be the student, right? So the teacher's creating something that they intend to either give to the student or to prepare them for an interaction with the student. So it might be a set of discussion questions that they have. They read, okay, I want to say those three in class, and then they'll use them in class. So not everything will be on paper in front of the student. Some things are preparation tools for the teacher.
But when you're talking to your teachers and when your teachers are putting up their profiles, I guess, that they've got in there, they're sitting there saying, hey, what's what's my end user? What's my end audience? Am I going to kindergartners? So
Yeah, they can set the reading level.
okay, so Eduaide is going to come back with a age appropriate, grade appropriate.
That's the
thing for
goal.
whether
So
it's
we use those same evaluator tools we give to our consumers. We use internally to test. So I'll say, I'm creating an informative text for second grade on
right.
I don't know, evaporation, condensation,
Right.
precipitation, the water cycle, and we'll generate that. And then I'll run it through the evaluator. I'll see, okay, it actually is readable at a second grade reading level. And then I'll do like 100 of those generations. And then we'll keep testing to ensure that it's consistent across a number of arbitrary
It
numbers.
stays in the window.
Yeah, but it needs to stay in that window. And if it doesn't, if we find that there's an elevated rate of error, right, the text is jumping up to an 8th grade level, it's very complex. Then we'll look at our prompts, we'll look at the output, we'll change the prompt, we'll change the parameters for the AI, and usually we can work it back to a level. If we can't work it to the grade level, then we'll get rid of the tool. We'll say, okay, this is beyond the realm of what an AI can do. And there's quite a few things that are beyond the realm of what an AI can do.
And as far as the feedback goes, I mean, if you're relying on your users then at that point that are sitting there saying, okay, I mean, obviously you're monitoring it on a web app that you turn around and say, okay, somebody changes, is okay, this is 8th grade, I'm down to 2nd grade.
Yeah.
That's pinging you in some way saying that, okay, there's a report of this.
So they can, when they run the evaluator, they can leave feedback on the evaluation, right? They can say the feedback was helpful and they were able to get it to a 2nd grade level. We get user feedback, we run internal tests, and between those two, we can kind of hone in on those prompts that are not performance. But we test those significantly before putting them out. So usually we don't run into those kinds of issues.
Sure. How big are you?
How big?
Yeah.
Like our company?
Yeah.
Our team's only 3 people.
Holy mackerel. Okay. Colorado, your fellow teacher and you?
Yes. He lives in St. Michael's.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was you and your fellow teacher that had the idea, and it was a friend of his that came up to.
Yeah. 3 co-founders, and we were able to. So there's companies in our market, they've raised, $65 million, have teams well over 100 people, quite large. But we figured if we're going to create a productivity tool for teachers using AI, we could probably use AI as a productivity tool for ourselves in running our company. So we use a significant amount of AI in the course of running our daily operations that allow us to maintain a small team and scale up the application.
Thomas, you're not a teacher, not teaching any longer, right?
I had to go full time on it.
Is your partner teaching?
Yes, we tried to pull him out of the classroom. We said we need all hands on deck, but he's refused. He likes the classroom.
I think that probably says a lot about Eduaide.
Yeah.
In that, you haven't lost
That's the main thing.
The boots on the ground.
Yeah. Sometimes I will have to really think back deep to remember like an aspect of what it was like teaching. I'm already kind of losing that touch a little bit as much as I try to. My mentor teacher suggested I start tutoring, once a week just to get back in front of kids.
I know it makes sense. I mean, I think that you do. I mean, going back to what I initially said, it said, it's great that you're going to invent this tech. If you don't know what their problems are, it's not going to be useful for anybody. But if you've got somebody that's in the classroom that realizes, okay, this is how students have changed. Okay. I mean, I know that my college professor friend, COVID changed students.
Yes, it did.
Undeniably, it changed businesses. It changed everything. So if you're not in there realizing what is changing for the teachers, for the students, for the administration, for, just how people learn. I mean, I grew up in reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Yeah.
I mean, it was rote. It is, I remember fighting with my kid on how to do long division. And it's a new math. I said, it's wrong math.
Yeah.
So if you're not in the classroom, you're falling behind, I think.
It's really tough. Even as a former teacher, I've noticed it, right? I may have lost a step. So I rely on my co-founder quite a bit because it's a significant amount of free product testing in the field, right? I can see how he's using the tool. He could talk to his fellow teachers in his school, show them a product feature, get their opinion on it. He works with his school, on their AI policies. So he's really invested in AI adoption and usage at his school district, which I think he brings that back to the company and it brings some great insights to the table.
Plus, you also get those amazing stories that teachers tell at like cocktail parties and when they're out of school.
Truly fascinating stories for sure.
Where do you see Eduaide headed right now? I mean, you said 170,000 teachers?
70,000 monthly active teachers. We've had over 900,000 signups though. So we intend to continue to scale it. So grow the company, get into more schools, get in the hands of more teachers, try to help as many people as possible.
What's scaling look like? I mean, obviously it's server space and everything else. Okay. So you just turn the knob up a little bit. And
a lot of it is mean, we've benefited significantly through word of mouth, and we don't really dump a lot of money into ads or anything like this. We have teachers who are passionate about the tool. They make videos and share the tool around. We got lucky on a few viral TikToks, for example, that really helped increase the exposure of the company. But I mean, really, it's two sales motions. One is the enterprise sales team. We're working directly with school districts, landing new district partners. And the other side is just pure user growth across the board. So those are the two levers.
If you had your druthers, where would you all in the enterprise?
Enterprise is definitely more predictable, right? Once you're in a school district, it's really hard to get out of a school district. It's also hard to get into a school district.
Right.
So those take quite a bit of time. It might take 3 to 6 months for a deal with the school district to go through. There's just so many different, have to go through the board meetings and the budget committees and all of the rest, and the pilot phases and whatnot. That's mainly the big part. We want to get as many pilots going as possible. Pilots are cheap and easy to set up, really no cost to us other than usage. And AI is rather inexpensive to use currently. I mean, we are able to run this totally bootstrapped. We're not burning any capital to operate.
I've got to think that also you've got 70,000, teachers that are your little salespeople and your little advocates.
That's the idea, yeah.
That are talking to their peers, that are talking to their principals, that are hopefully talking to their administrators and so on and so forth, to sort of spread the word of mouth there. Ideally, in a perfect world, or in your wildest dreams, would you see like the state of Maryland saying, okay, or the U.S. Department of Education saying, hey, this is something that we feel is, I think that's probably the pipe dream of everybody.
Yes, state-based for sure. Federal government really does not control as much as people think they do for education. So if you can have a state agency get behind your product and then work with the school districts in adoption, trainings, professional development, that would be huge.
I still love the fact that you're not the tech guy coming into the classroom saying, hey, this is how it should be done.
Yeah.
And
that's almost mistaken.
That is such a huge thing. Now, when were you in Caroline and Anne Arundel County teaching?
I was in Caroline County from 2019. So that was a 2019-2020 school year. So my first school year was COVID.
Wonderful.
And then 2020 to 2021, I was in Caroline County. 22 to 23, my last year at Caroline County. 23 to 24 at Anne Arundel, 24 to 25 at Anne Arundel.
Okay, so you really got your feet wet during COVID and the after effects of it.
Where tech was thrown at us left and right. Use this platform for video conferencing. Use this platform to share your screen. Use this platform for a collaborative workbook. And
then come September, we're going to do something else.
Yeah, exactly. And not much great instruction was getting done because tech adoption breaks down so often. Teachers don't have training. They don't have the buy-in. It gets filtered through their own teaching style. So it's used or disused, and it's usually a mess.
It's also memory of when you're using it. I know that with the schools recently here, they went to a couple days of remote learning.
Yeah.
After the snow days were exhausted. While the kids knew how to work the tech, they had problems logging in because it was tied to their school email.
Yeah.
As opposed to like the regular Gmails. And it's like, oh yeah, that's right. And
simple things as students remembering passwords, but also connectivity is a huge issue. But I mean, when I was teaching in Caroline County during COVID, they had to set up buses with Wi-Fi routers in parking lots. And students were doing their homework in the back of a minivan.
Well, we did that through COVID here in the libraries and some of the different schools and stuff like that. And you don't realize that, if you do have internet, if you do have if you've got a roof over your house, and some heat in your place and some food in your refrigerator, you're probably far better off than many people, certainly in the world.
Yeah.
But even here in our own community, people don't realize what we have. And without having the ability to get these tools like Eduaide, and whether that be the teachers, and let's face it, it's not just the teachers that are benefiting from this. Yes, they're gaining time, they're gaining a little bit ease. I'm sure probably a little bit of lesson planning is boring as hell and rote. And do I even have to believe I have to write, print this out again type thing to be able to make their job a little bit easier, make their time a little bit more useful. And then the kids are getting the benefit of, not just the teacher's input, I guess, but, the whole input that you're getting from AI and the large language model to be able to.
And then the whole district benefits, because if a teacher's going into work feeling less burnout, you're going to hopefully, the idea is to lower the amounts of attrition going on in school districts.
Yeah.
Because now you have new teachers coming in. Most new teachers, it's like something like 40% of new teachers leave within the first 3 years of teaching. So how do you build excellence in a field that struggles to retain talent? Well, you can't. So then you have new teachers stepping in. And if your half of your work base are novice teachers, you have entire groups of students who really aren't getting the depth and quality that they deserve and that they should. And schools aren't doing enough to nurture those teachers to stay in the profession. Now, a lot of that's pay, of course, and whatnot, but a lot of it comes down to just burnouts, no direction, no support on how to supplement the curriculum. You're told curriculum is the source of truth, but you don't have to stretch that out to reach all your students.
I wish businesses, and certainly I'll consider schools as part of that at this point, would realize that there's a lot more that drives people in a career than money.
Yeah, 100%.
I had a friend of mine that worked at Living Social, which I don't even know whether they exist. They were sort of like a Groupon knockoff. And she was commuting down to National Harbor every day. It's just a drag. You hitting the Beltway, the whole 9 yards. Came up here, was looking for a job. I said, "Oh yeah, no, we can't afford you." And she's like, "You have no idea the value of being able to ride my bicycle to work with wet hair out of the shower, than to fighting the Beltway traffic for an hour and 10 minutes. So I am more than willing to take a, X dollar drop in pay to do that." And I think that, that's, when you're able to give somebody the tools to be able to do their job more effectively, they didn't get into teaching because they hate teaching. Okay. Nobody gets into their career because they hate it. You have a degree in teaching. I mean, you did your undergrad and stuff like that. Was it a hard jump into tech? I know you did tech at Hopkins when you worked on your master's, but was it a big, scary jump to go from a very comfortable, I mean, let's face it, you could have been a teacher for life if you wanted to put up with it. And I mean, it's hard to get fired. It's, got really good health benefits, which they're probably,
that was the nice part. No health benefits in a startup. I wouldn't say so. I was always a bit naive, perhaps might be the word. Maybe I had the ego and self-belief. Some mix of these two gives you the chutzpah to say, you know what, I'm going to go do this and see what happens. I didn't really think of it as too much of a gamble. I'm surprised at how little I doubted it, actually. I thought I should be a little more hesitant. Maybe my wife probably thought I should have been a little more hesitant before diving in.
Still thinks about it.
Yeah. But no, ultimately, I think I made the right decision. It's given me opportunities I couldn't have dreamed of. I attended the White House's AI task force meeting this year. I met with the Brookings Institute at the UN this year. I was in Forbes, opened up a
wouldn't have happened in eighth grade history.
No, they're not giving 30 under 30 to eighth grade history teachers. Although maybe they should.
Personally, are you looking to grow this, get this mature and onto something else, or is this something that you see yourself nurturing 30 years down the line from here?
I mean, the tech cycle evolved so quickly that I don't think Eduaide in its current form
That's true.
would survive 30 years. It would have to change drastically. The company itself, however, in the core concept of AI for teacher support, I think is going to be sticky. It's going to be around for a while. But yeah, we're going to mature it and then probably on to the next thing. I have another concept in mind.
Very cool. Well, I want to thank you so much, Thomas. Now, for the teachers that are listening, I know that we do have a number of them. Eduaide.ai, EDUAIDE.ai. There is a free version there, so you can get a taste of it and see if it makes sense. And again, $5 a month, $6 a month.
$5.99.
$5.99 a month is
less than this cappuccino I'm drinking.
And I hate to sit there and tell a teacher to spend more money of their own money that they already spend too much of.
Yeah.
But you all have those Amazon wish lists for like the tissues and the, put that on a wish list to your class. If it's something that really helps you do your job, because I mean, a teacher that can do their job easier, that can get assistance, that can get more time back for their own families is going to be a better teacher. It's going to be a win for the parents. It's going to be a win for the kids that are being taught by them. I think it's like so cool that it's like right here in Annapolis and in Maryland. I think it's, we're not known as this huge tech center of the world, depending on, despite what the governor may say. I mean, we've got some, but not known for it. I mean, people don't go, oh, we need to go to Laurel.
Yeah. It's burgeoning though. There's quite a few ed tech startups in Baltimore right now. I meet with them once a month we have like a breakfast. There's probably 8 or 9 really good companies, a lot of things in reading and writing, early learning, really interesting stuff.
Very cool. Thomas, I want to thank you so much.
Thank you.
Again, eduaide.ai, and we're going to have all the links and everything else on here. And I'm thinking we'll grab some pictures off of the site and get some, put it in there so everybody can sort of see what it looks like. And
awesome.
I invite everybody to take a look and check it out.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to this week's Local Business Spotlight. Please make sure to visit eyeonannapolis.net for all your local news, events, and opinion. And in case you haven't already, please subscribe to the Eye on Annapolis Daily News Brief, where we bring you all the day's local news direct to your phone, tablet, or computer in about 10 minutes. It comes to you at 6 a.m. every Monday through Friday, and you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.